Hi, I'm Craig Hohnberger. I'm a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
This is the only show on the internet dedicated to results leaders. Welcome to the show where we like to say thought leadership is easy, results leadership is hard, and we are shining the light on the men and women who are getting results for their clients. Today, Mr. Craig Hohnberger joins us, who is giving people more life through business. Let's jump in. Craig, welcome to the show. Are you ready to rock this thing?
I am, Jonathan. Good to see you again.
Yeah, man, it's been too long. So let's give our listeners a quick win. What book have you given most as a gift?
Probably the book Halftime by Bob Buford. Not sure if you know the book, but he is a former, really super successful cable executive, cable industry. And he has this premise that all super successful people eventually reach a halftime in their career where they look back on the first half and they realize, gosh, I've been really successful, but on the back half, I want to be more than successful. I want to be significant. And so he wrote a book on that whole process, and everybody goes through it at a different age. I went through mine between the age of 30 and 33. That's why I went through my halftime of my career. So I buy by the case and give them out to people.
What'd you figure out in your halftime?
I figured out that I didn't want to do things just to make Wall Street happy and make a number. And I didn't want work to be my primary focus. I wanted work to be a vehicle to achieve life goals and ambitions and impact and legacy. Yeah.
All right. It's story time. Tell us a story of how an apparent failure set you up for later success.
Yeah. Probably getting fired from my last corporate job. And I'll put quotes around the word fired because I think it was a mutual decision. And looking back, I was going through a few years of corporate soul searching at the time, looking for the holy grail of a corporate gig. I spent the first 10 years of my career in the corporate world, Fortune 200s, mergers, acquisitions, integrations, turnarounds, that kind of stuff. A lot of travel. And the last couple of years of it, I was going through some soul searching, looking for that holy grail where I could have balance and I could have upward mobility and income, and I could have passion for my work and a culture I could thrive in, working with and for people I truly trusted and respected. And my very last stint, I just realized, oh my gosh, really the only thing that they do that really fits is they're paying really well. And that was about it. And I finally had enough. And it really got me to think about, what do I really want to do with the rest of my life? Who do I want to be around? What kind of impact do I want to have? And what kinds of relationships do I want to have? All too often, the business world is very transactional. And I'm like, well, gosh, why would I want them in my business life if I don't even want them in my regular life? So I decided I wanted something much more relational and even transformational. I wanted to have those types of relationships with people. So yeah, that last stint in my corporate life, which I walked away from, or they fired me, was really beneficial. It prompted my halftime, essentially.
What would you say is the most worthwhile investment that you have ever made?
Yeah, that one has to be investing in my faith, which happened shortly thereafter. But really getting to personally know the one true and all-powerful God who created the stars, the planets, even life itself, just by speaking all of it into existence. Getting to know him and getting to know just how much he loves me and everyone he ever created, and just how that's impacted every other part of my life, and the peace that I get through the storms and the divine guidance and insights he gives me along the way for decision making. It's just been amazing. I can't believe I didn't know who he was or didn't care who he was my first 34 years of my life.
So then you grew up without that faith background? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
And so how do you figure out, how do you get the connection? Like, how do you, if you were never taught that, your whole life you were deprived of that, how do you realize that's the answer that you've been looking for?
Yeah. So when I started our business, I used public speaking to grow the business. And after every one of my speaking gigs, people always come up to you afterwards. They're like, oh, wow, this was really great. They ask questions, want to get together, whatever. After every one of my first half a dozen or so gigs that I did, somebody would ask me where I went to church. And I thought that was an odd question. I'm like, that's a really odd question for a business seminar. And they're like, well, you remind me so much of my pastor, except you're teaching business stuff and not Bible stuff. So I thought maybe we went to church together. I just hadn't met you. And so I'd ask them where they went to church. They'd tell me. I'm like, no, I don't go there, but your pastor sounds kind of cool. And so that happened time and time and time again. All my first clients were very faith-based and very open about their faith. I only knew 2 people in my whole corporate life that were faith-based. There was probably more, but only 2 were actually open about it because it was such a taboo subject in that world. And just a subsequent series of events happened, and I decided, you know what, I got to check out this church where I supposedly remind people of their pastor. So I went to church one day on December 16, 2001, went back on December 23, 2001, and I met the Holy Spirit in that instance. I don't remember one word of the sermon. All I remember is I spent the next hour and 15 minutes with God in eternity as I was coming out of that experience. We're going to be leaving and going to my mom and dad's house for lunch. God said, call these 2 people because they've been praying fervently for you, and I just answered their prayers. So thank them for the prayers, explain to them what you just experienced with me, have them put it into words you can understand, and then ask them to mentor you in my word because I put them in your life for a reason. And it was like literally marching orders. So yeah, one of them led me down the sinner's prayer over the phone. This was, I called him, a half an hour later.
Wow. That's incredible, man. So let's think back. Over the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Probably intentionality. So being very intentional about everything. And it's kind of rooted in my faith. God really started speaking to me during a season in 2017, 2018 time period. And he said, I need you all in for me. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not all in? And he laughed. He literally chuckled at me and said, now, this thing you're worried about over here and this thing you're a little stressed about over there, that doesn't come from me. I bring only the peace that transcends all understanding. And that stuff's coming from your own flesh or the world's way of doing things or even my enemy. So no, I need you to be all in. Pray about all things, even where you get your gas. And I'm still not all that good at it, but I'm getting better and better and better. And just being intentional, like thinking about, okay, what should I eat for lunch today? And saying a little prayer. What should I get off the menu, etc. It's just made such a giant difference where it doesn't matter what I'm going through. That thinking time and prayer meditation time just makes a big difference than just taking a second to contemplate the decision I'm about to make versus just doing the decision that would have came naturally in the moment has made a big difference.
Powerful. Let's have some fun. Let's lighten up here a little bit. What are some bad recommendations you hear in your area of expertise?
Oh my gosh, tons. So there's 2 sides of our business. One side is the pure coaching, consulting side of the world where we're working directly with clients. The other side is where we're opening new offices to do what we do. And so on the first one, or on the opening new offices, I would say a lot of people are told, whether it's by their parents or their coworkers or their friends or their bosses, play it safe, don't take any risks, stay in the job or career field you went to college for and that you've been on for the last 15, 20, 25 years, whatever it is. And I remember talking to a guy who, like a finance accounting guy, and he'd been in that ever since he graduated college. He was probably in his late 40s, really desperately wanted to get out of that world, but he felt like it was too late. He's been doing this for too long. And I remember asking him, I said, how old were you when you decided to become an accountant? He's like, well, when I was 18 and decided to go to school for accounting. And I'm like, and how much wisdom did you have as an 18-year-old? And he's like, none. I said, so you're still letting that 18-year-old decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life when you're at 48 years old now? Dude, you get one shot at life. Go for it, whatever it is for you. And he was just too scared to make the leap. So I think a lot of people are told by people in their life, play it safe, don't take too many risks, things like that, when they mean well. Like when I launched our business, my dad didn't think it was a good idea. He thought I should stay in the corporate world with a big company with, salaries and benefits and all that kind of stuff. And a few years later, he was working for me. So I think that is one big one. I think another one on the coaching consulting side is people are given advice from other people that says you really don't need coaches and people like that in your life. The information's out there. You're smart. You're already running your business just fine. The information's in the internet, all that kind of stuff. When in reality, you'll get there a whole lot faster. Every champion in the world, whether it's sports or business, all the champions have coaches. In golf, Tiger Woods has multiple coaches, right? Any hacker can go out to the golf course on the weekend and hack up the course, but it's only the ones that go out and get coaches that truly take it to that next level and make it to the highest levels. Parents all day long will buy coaches for their kids to get better in sports and personal trainers and all that kind of stuff, hoping their kids make it to a scholarship someday. But yet, how many of them get career coaches, or how many of them get leadership coaches if they want to be better leaders? How many business people actually get business coaches? Only the true champions do.
Yeah, but how do people know that they can get business coaches and all that if maybe the environment around them doesn't support that?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Jonathan. A lot of people haven't heard of the industry even yet. It's becoming more and more common, which is a good thing. But yeah, that's a good point. I think some people just have to naturally be open to learning from other people and getting advice and things like that. Some just aren't. And then some of them, I think, see it as a sign of weakness. Like, oh my gosh, I'm admitting weakness if I hire a coach. And in reality, it's a sign of strength because you're going to get a lot better at what you do faster. And it's a competitive weapon. You're going to distance yourself from your competition if you get the right coaches, obviously. You get somebody that's going to push you the best.
I think it's interesting, the people out there that don't know that they can get coaching, get mentorship, get help. And basically what we're talking about is buying a shortcut, right?
Yeah.
How do I get better? I buy your knowledge and experience, and you help me get better at what I do. And we do it much quicker.
That's exactly right.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a public service announcement. We're going to get right back into this show, but I wanted to ask you a question. If you have been listening to the show for any amount of time and you've picked up even one single tip, then I need your help. Get the word out. Tell people about resultsleader.fm. Share it on social media. Share it on your email. Share it anywhere. #ResultsLeaderFM. Now let's jump back into the interview. Let's talk about results. Why do results matter?
Oh my gosh. They're the measure of your progress towards whatever your ultimate goal or purpose is. Results are that metric to know how you're tracking to where you want to go. And if you don't know the result you're actually after, how do you even know what actions to take? How do you know what decisions to make? So measuring results is absolutely crucial. And there's ultimate results. Like, what's my income going to be at the end of the year, my sales, whatever. And then there's the key performance metrics along the way. Like, how many phone calls do I got to make to ultimately get to those results? How many people do I got to talk to? That kind of stuff. But measuring the results is crucial to be able to course correct whatever decisions, behaviors, or actions you're taking along the way, or else you're not going to get to where you want to go. Plain and simple.
Let's talk about your business, brother. What area of your business would you like to see better results?
Yeah, we kind of touched on that a minute ago. You asked a good question, but for me, it would be more awareness of coaching, as everybody needs a coach. In fact, our big, hairy, audacious goal as an organization is to have a coach in every business, not just an action coach. We're truly looking at this from the perspective of being evangelists for our industry, because not everybody's going to be a perfect fit for our style, but everybody needs a coach. If they're going to truly be great at what they do, they should have a coach that's helping them get there. So just more awareness and more proliferation of coaching as an industry as it continues to grow.
In the last 5 years, what new realization has helped you get better results for your clients?
I'd say probably the big shift in culture when it comes to the different generations in the workforce. So, you look at the baby boomers, you look at the Gen Xers, they just work their tail off and put their nose down, work hard, do a great job, and you'll get ahead eventually. And they put their family second oftentimes. And the millennials and Gen Zers, a lot of times they were the latchkey kids. They never saw their parents. They were kind of raising themselves a little bit because mom and dad were out busting it at work. And I think the kids these days realize there's a higher purpose to things, and they want more purpose, and they want to be part of a company that actually is doing something good for the world. And it's less about the income and more about tapping into that purpose for them. And without having a purpose that's ever bigger, then it's only about the income. Then you better pay them an awful lot of money. And so I think helping our clients navigate those, because a lot of our clients are, 50 plus and are looking at that transition, the succession planning, and who's going to take over, and what motivated those clients when they were growing in their careers isn't necessarily what motivates the next generation that's below them, that's coming up through the ranks. So helping them really understand how to communicate and how to create organizations that allow everybody to get what they want out of it, I think has been good. I think it's good for the world in general too, because people are forcing companies to rethink things.
Now, you've used the word quite a lot, and I have to ask. We've talked about purpose in this entire episode, I think, and I had put a pin in it, but it's come up so much more that I'd like to hear. What would you say is your purpose, Craig?
Because business should give everyone more life. And we believe in that so much that my partner and I, we actually trademarked it. So unfortunately, business sucks the life out of too many people, whether they're an entrepreneur who's putting in 75 hours a week trying to get this thing going, whether it's a corporate person trying to get a rung up on the ladder, whether it's a frontline worker that's just being squeezed from on high so that the big execs can make a bigger bonus later. And they're treated like a number on a spreadsheet. All too often, business doesn't give people life. It sucks the life out of them. And too many people look forward to just retiring someday. Once I got enough money, I could just quit this thing and retire. And it doesn't have to be that way. If people are doing something they're passionate about and gifted to do, and they're doing it within an amazing culture that actually values relationship and not just transaction, I think a lot of people would want to continue working well into their later years. I've got a guy that works with us. He's 83 years old, and he's not going to hang up the cleats until his brain finally shuts down and he can't. And does he work as many hours as he used to? No, but he's doing something he's passionate about. He's sowing all those extra years of wisdom into his clients. And he doesn't need the money, but he's doing it because he absolutely loves it, and he's making a difference.
What results are you most proud of?
On a very personal level, that I'm in my mid-50s and I'm on 0 medications and all my core vitals are doing really well. On the family side, my wife and I have a great relationship. We've got great relationships with our kids. Might not have been the case had I stayed in the corporate world. And they're both in their early 20s now, mid-20s, and they're crushing it as young adults, making a big difference. Both are actually interested in taking over our business at some point, which will be kind of cool. And on the purely business side, just the results at the end of the day that we get with the clients that makes it all real, because there's the financial results and there's how many clients are we serving and how much money do we make. Those are just metrics. But just a few weeks ago, I personally met the husband of a gal that we're recruiting that's going to open a new office for us. Here in the next couple of weeks, it'll be a done deal. So I got to meet him, and he was telling me a story about when he realized this is what she had to do. He didn't care. He just wanted her to be happy. She's a CEO in the healthcare world right now. And so he just wanted her to be happy and be fulfilled. And as he's telling the story, he said he was sitting out on the dock with a long-term childhood friend of his. And his friend asked him, hey, what's your wife going to be doing when she finally leaves her corporate CEO gig? And he said, I don't know. I just want her to be happy and fulfilled. But the thing she's the most interested in right now that seems to light up her eyes the most is this action coaching thing. And the guy looked at him and said, did you say action coach? And Tom, the guy I was talking to, said, yeah, I think that's what she said. And his friend told him, and Tom starts tearing up as he's telling me this. He looked at him and said, I would not still be in business without them, and I probably wouldn't be alive today without them.
Wow.
And literally just a week and a half before my conversation with him, that guy just sold his business for a 12x multiple and walked away funding the rest of his life if he never wants to do anything again. And it was like, wow, that's why we do this. So that guy was depressed and unhealthy and things like that earlier. And then he really turned it into an amazing business and was able to fund his retirement and loves life now.
I know our listeners are going to want more from you. Where can they go to get it?
They can go to our website, www.buji, B-U-J-I, actioncoach.com.
All right. We will have links in the show notes as well. Thank you, Craig, for hanging out with us today. Thank you, Results Leaders, for tuning in. Another episode is in the can. That is a wrap for another edition of Results Leader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to resultsleader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard. We'll catch you on the next one.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.